Namaskar, my name is Manish Kumar and I welcome all of you to my channel. So this is going to be my second channel where I'll be uploading all the videos in English. I have been already running one of the successful channel in Hindi, but based on your response that many of people are not understanding Hindi, that is why I have come up with this idea that I'll be uploading almost all of the videos from now onwards in two languages, Hindi and English, in both of the different channels, so that we are not mixing and matching things, so that you won't be having difficulty in finding videos. If you understand Hindi, then you can go to the channel Manish Kumar. If you understand English, then you can come to Manish Kumar 2.0. So without further delay, we'll start with the video, and the topic for today's video is how to answer behavioral questions which are being asked for in the interview. This starts from 3 years onwards, and currently I have 5.5 years of almost 5.6 years of experience, and recently made a switch. I had created a list of questions, and surprisingly all of the question was being asked from that set of 10 questions. So in today's video I'll explain you all the questions and answers, how I gave the answers, what was my thought process. So let's go to the laptop screen and discuss each and everything in detail. Okay, here we go. So now we are at the laptop screen, and this is the topic, behavioral interview question. So before moving further, I would like to explain some of the concept that people say that if you answer in the specific pattern during this behavioral question, that will give you a good impression, and yeah, that's correct. So this is called a star pattern, where S stands for situation, T stands for task, R stands for task, A stands for action, and R stands for result. So now I'll give you one scenario why this works, or why we should answer in this particular fashion. So basically I am taking one of the example of three friends, right? There are three friends who are having just normal chat, and one of friend number one asked to friend number two, did you go there? Right, this was just the question, did you go there? And he was like, yeah, I went there and I was having quite good experience. So this is what his response is. Now since this one friend 2 knows what this context about, he was able to answer. But when it comes to friend 3, he didn't know what they are talking about, and that is where he will ask, okay, what are you talking about, guys? Right? And that is where this concept called context, right? Even in our interview, when we go to the stakeholder or discussing some of the things from one team to another, and without giving a context, when we started giving some of the what we can say answers, or we started questioning something from the different team, they start asking, okay, can you give me some context, what is it about, right? So that is where this context is nothing but a situation, right? You can think of this way. Context is a situation here, and task, action are how and what are the things that you are going to do, and result is final outcome, right? So in our example, friend 2 replied, I went there and I had a good experience. So good experience results to the result, this was the result, and he went there is basically a task or action that he performed, right? We don't have much context, but yeah, this is how things are working. So now we'll go to the question and I'll explain you a little bit more about it. So if you see there, this is the first question that I had written. Give me an example of a time when you had a conflict with the team member and how did you handle it. So these are the very famous question that is being asked in the interview, and I think I had been asked multiple times about the same question. So this is my situation. Now see, if he or she, the interviewer is asking this question, they don't know anything about you, right? So that is where you'll have to give the context. What exactly happened? How did you resolve this issue? What all action did you take, right? So that is where this situation is. So in situation, since I had this kind of experience, so I am explaining my situation. So basically you have to build one story, just build one story and stick to that story, and then answer accordingly. It cannot be the same answer, but it will be somewhat similar, because the story is same, right? This is the thought process behind answering all of the question. There will be a situation where the same answer can be given to the multiple questions, that also we will be discussing in further questions. So here I am giving a situation where I had a conflict with my team member, or I would say my senior, when I was on notice period. So basically this is the I can say this is the thinking of every person, like if someone is on notice period, he or she might not be working up to the full potential, and most of the cases it happens. But for me it was opposite, that I was working harder and harder to achieve the deadlines, and also I was helping my juniors as well as my replacement to get up to the speed, right? So this was the situation. Now task is not required here, so I just explaining the situation further down the line. The same thing, like my senior in one of the meeting, he highlighted that you are not completing the task on given timelines, and he was correct, right? He was correct on that time. And so what I did, so from my side, this was the action. I immediately scheduled one-on-one call with him, explained all the extra tasks that I was doing, like helping the juniors, and also helping the my replacement. Like if someone joins the organization, he or she does not have any idea at all, and then you have to get up to the speed within a 2 month or a month. So that's very challenging task, and you have to give a lot of time while explaining, right? So that is the same thing I explained to him, and the result, like he understood the situation. He what is that, and then yeah, so after that he understood the situation, that why the timeline is not getting hit, and yeah, that was it. So he, after that, he was not having feeling that I'm not working. And I think this is the result here. The communication was the key, because I communicated with him very properly that why this is getting delayed, and this is the reason. So this kind of result, you can say, okay, communication was the key here, that we communicated well and we resolved the issue, right? Then the second question was, tell me a time you made a mistake at work, and how did you resolve the problem, and what did you learn from your mistake? So this is also a common question. And again, the third question will also, you'll see somewhat similar. So basically I made a two story, that's why I have written one question here and another question there. So if you see, describe a occasion when you failed at a task, and what did you learn, or tell me about time when you missed the deadline and what happened. So basically I build a story around deadline missing, and that is where I did this two question in one go. And the second, this one is mostly what all mistakes I have made in the different kind of story. So basically these two stories are running parallelly, but kind of questions are same, right? If you can answer vice versa, like if you can answer 2 and 3 for the same situation, depends. If they ask both questions, then you will have to stick to two different story. That's why I'm giving here are two different stories, right? So again, for me, the situation was like this was more from technical side. So what was happening in my last organization before joining the current organization where I was working, I used to write a code which used to work fine for one customer. But now when I joined a product based organization where multiple customer will be there, multiple data set will be there, so that is where I was finding good learning as well. But my task was to forget the things that I was doing, like it was not for just one client, it was for entire customer. So that is where I'm making this a story, like what was the situation and then what did I do. So this was the task I did do, or action I did, right? So these are the task and action that I did here. So when I joined Geo, I'm explaining the same situation. We had to write clean, manageable and extensible code. So to do this, how did I do that, right? So what action I took. So for first few months I observed the patterns or the coding patterns which was being utilized there, and I learned a lot from the earlier written code base, and also learned about OOPS concept, design patterns. So these are the things that I learned from there. And in the result section you can see what result. So I was able to build good pipelines, and when building a pipeline I used to ask some of the questions which I learned from the code base that I was going through, and by this way I was able to do the project in a better way without getting much of issues, right? Of course we get issues, we will get error, but if you have some questions earlier, like if you have taken some edge cases into the consideration, you are likely to go with the less errors, right? So these are the things. And now the next question I already told you, right? And here this is the second situation when I'm explaining this situation. So in this case where I'm missing the deadlines, so this is where I have explained why did I miss the deadlines and how did I fix this and what I am doing in the future to not get into the same kind of situation. So there are two occasions when I failed miserably, and one of the things I am explaining here, right? And what I am giving the situation that as a new joinee I was not aware with the data and gave the timeline for 2 weeks. So basically most of the time when you are working on a senior roles, you are asked to give the ETA, right? When are you going to deliver some of the features, and that is where I gave the ETA for 2 weeks, and we could not deliver it. So that is where the task and action I am explaining here. So we started on a project and realized that we don't have the data. API was not providing the expected output, and that is where we raised the red flag. This is the action that we took, right? And then a specified format what is required, and then expected format, but due to which it took another 2 weeks, right? Due to which feature took another 2 weeks. Yeah, so that is where we got delayed, and this was the action, and due to which this got delayed. So in result, you can see that second feature due to late or something I'm saying. So yeah, this is my learning. This taught me that if you are not well versed with the requirement, do not commit the ETA. And that is where I also learned a golden rule. I would say this is the golden rule, at least it was working. So let's say if it takes 5 days, in my understanding that is going to take 5 days, 5 working days. So I at least multiply with 1.5 times, so that comes 7.5. So I'll give the ETA for 8 working days. And if sometime it has to be taken consideration of keeping like moving this feature till the production environment, so that is where I add some extra timelines, like maybe 1 week or 2 week extra time to get into the production, because production itself takes a lot of time to move your code forward with all the testing and different team collaboration. So those things comes into the picture, but just for the development purpose almost I took 1.5 times, and that is working fine, because in the coding world you never know which kind of issue you will get stuck into, and it is going to eat up most of your time, right? So I'll move to the next question now. Tell me about a time when you took the initiative in your career and what was your motivation for doing so. So again here question number 4 and question number 5, if you see, tell me a time when you are asked to do something that you have never done before, right? So these kind of questions are mostly, at least from developer perspective, is same. So I took multiple initiative here, not multiple, one initiative, and one I learned Scala. So basically I was a Python developer, but I started learning Scala. That I'll discuss later. So first this fourth number question, I'll discuss about it. So for me the situation was like I saw opportunity to automate some of the pipelines were already automated, scheduling. So I saw the people were using cron and they were having difficulty with all the complexity that we had, right? So that is where I started talking, I initiated a call with my manager talking about Airflow and its capability, and then we started I took the initiative, and then I again the same thing, connected with manager, and then not a and here see, my aim was not to my aim was to not everyone else. Yeah, my aim was that everyone does not has to learn the building DAGs, that is a building blocks of Airflow, and that is where I automated the things way further than just using Airflow, right? So I built a small microservices which can schedule a job for you, and you just go to the Airflow UI and you can see the task, how your task is performing, is there any issue. If there is any issue, you can just again come to the microservice, and if you want to rerun it, or you want to do some other perform some other operations, that also can be done. Action is the same thing that I built microservices. Result was here that I started this project just to help our team, but it became quite popular, and more than 100 or 150 jobs had been scheduled in production environment. So this a small initiative took till the production, and everyone was utilizing it and everyone was happy with it. So yeah, this kind of initiative I took just for saving some times, but it helped a lot. So yeah, that was the thing. And then the next question. So as I said, I am a Python developer and mostly I used to work on Python, but now I in one of the project I had to learn Scala, and that is what the situation is. And then the task is I started learning about it, and the task was to fetch the data from GCP and push it into correct and error directive based on the business logic. So this was the task. Action I took is I connected with my seniors because they were well versed with Scala, and then I took help from them. I started learning online, I started learning from books. So these are the things that the action that I took to learn this tech stack, and within 2 weeks I was able to at least contribute to the project, right? So this is the level I achieved it within 2 weeks. And then result was of course it took 1 week extra to deliver the project, which because I was not working up to the speed. And sometime I also talk about that I wrote Python script and said, okay, give me the equivalent Scala script that most of us does sometime if you don't know some technology. So this is the things that I did. And then the famous question that everyone, almost every level you can be asked is, why are you looking for a change? And everyone knows that we are mostly looking for a change due to compensation reason or a learning growth or both. So for me, sometimes I bluntly used to say yes, I am looking better compensation and better career growth. Sometimes I used to be more like I used to answer more strategically. So this is what the strategically answer that I have written. You can read it, right? But mostly the same thing that I'm talking about, learning opportunity, steep learning curve, the same thing, right? Then the next question, what do you do if your team is not agreeing with your ideas? So since I was not like kind of a tech lead or architect level engineer, where mostly my task was to develop and implement the things, not to design. So that is where I don't had much disagreement on the ideas. But yes, so I said, okay, I have not worked in, like I have not been into such situation, but I can talk about my thought process. And they said, okay, you can go ahead. And there I explained these are the 4 steps that I would take. I would first understand, first take the time thoroughly. Yeah, first I will understand the process or propose solutions. Then slowly, also I will build my small prototype to enforce my ideas, like what I am thinking. And then collaboratively we can sit together and see each other response and how things are working. And it can be the case that both of solutions are not correct, or either one feature of mine is correct and another feature of their is correct. So those kind of brainstorming session, and then we can come to a point where the best design can be implemented, right? So these are my thought process, and I explained them and they were happy with it. Then next question, when leading a team, how do you handle the conflicts within the team? So this was the question. And I didn't had a conflicts within the team, but I explained the different situation because I had a different situation. So I said handling people is more difficult than handling code. And yes, of course, that's the case because everyone comes with a different culture, different perspective. They have their own way of thinking process, right? So yeah, and then again I started explaining the situation. So in my situation, since I had multiple juniors working under me, and one of the juniors, she was just struggling a bit. So that is what the situation is. And then in the task I'm explaining, I had a connect, one-on-one connect with her to understand what exactly the challenge is, why she is not able to deliver, or why she is having gap, or not able to complete the task basically. So when I was communicating with her, I got to know that she has a technical gap. She is not up to the mark what we are expecting from a junior level at least. So what I did, I started helping her. I started giving a small task basically to gain more expertise on basics, because if your basics are good, then you can build something on top of it. That is what I did. I gave some small assignment, I helped her in best possible ways. Yeah, so these are the things I did. and the result was like after 6 months down the line, she started contributing to the project. She started working individually sometime also, right? So these are the things. And the learnings for me was that directly don't jump into the conclusion when someone is struggling. It can be the case that they are going through the tough phase of their life, maybe personally or professionally, you never know. So these are the things that I learned. Show some empathy when your team member is not working well. Try to understand the things, motivate them, and yeah, these are the things that it can be done, right? So this is what I also did. And then the last question, like how do you stay up to date with the latest technology? So for me, if you know, I generally prefer books over videos or YouTube videos or Udemy videos, any other kind of medium, right? And since we know that all the new technology will not have a good books, so sometime I go to the documentation in that case, and also we go to the generally I go to the GitHub page. So my camera gets shut down each time. You might not be knowing, but for the first time you will be seeing here, my camera gets hit up and then it gets shut down. So that's the same thing happening, but we'll continue with the video because this is the last question that I have. Yeah, so I learned from GitHub, like going to the GitHub. Then if it is open source, you can learn a lot of things, and if you are having a good documentation, that's also a good way to start some new technology. Apart from that, also I go to sometime blog posts from different organization, like I think TikTok also has a good one. This one, Netflix also has a good one. I think Atlassian also, I think I had gone once. So these are the few blog posts that you can go through. Google itself has a multiple white papers. So those things I generally prefer, but of course we don't get much time. So basically I generally go to the documentation. This is the best possible way if I don't have the books available for that. So these are the questions that I had prepared, and surprisingly all of the questions from this only. So prepare well, get ready for the interview, and all the best for all the upcoming interviews. So that will be it for today's video. We'll meet in the next video. Till then, bye bye.